Hey there guys, as you can see I have over 105,000 miles on my BMW X5 E70. Needless to say, the car is showing signs of its age and mileage, and there are a couple of major things that are bothering me, specifically ones around the engine performance in terms of idling. I do see a little bit of, it's not a smooth operation, let's put it that way. Plus, the overall ride handling and ride quality has suffered drastically. Every pothole, I can feel it. So the idea is that I want to take care of at least a couple of two major things. One's the spark plug, and the other is the shocks, all four, like front struts and the rear shocks. So those are going to be two major maintenance items, which are kind of out of the ordinary, but apart from them, I have a few regular maintenance items. Otherwise, I mean, it doesn't show in my required service here. As you can see, everything seems to be in line, but I do have front brake pads and rotors that I want to change. Plus, I'm going to take that opportunity and also replace the filters, cabin, and both the air filter. And I do want to make it a little bit of fun exercise, so I'm going to go ahead and get the estimates from the dealership. And as we move along the project, just for sake of fun, we're going to compare where we are doing it ourselves versus getting it done through the dealership. I don't intend it to be like a full step-by-step how-to videos, because there are plenty of good videos out there which are going to cover most of the stuff. I would give you maybe a couple of tips or important points. So let's start with the shocks. I ordered these from actually Rock Auto. I looked it up at FCP Euro, but the price was a little bit higher. These are the original equipment. So if you buy BMW, I mean, obviously genuine is going to cost a lot more, but remaining hardware for the front struts, we are going to replace these bump stops and the bushings and the mount rubbers and everything. So the shock is like one major, obviously, area that we're going to work on. And the other one is the spark plugs. Apart from spark plugs, you do need this special 12-point socket. If you have a tool for holding the spark plugs, I think that will make it easier. And then there are a couple other maintenance items. Yeah, the coolant housing. This one is a pretty common failure item. Breaks, it's plastic, so from FCP Euro, I think it's aluminum. And also this one is the camshaft hose. It breaks down if you're trying to replace the spark plug, so we're going to go ahead and change these two. So as far as the regular maintenance items, we are obviously going to change the engine oil filter, the air filter, engine filter, and the cabin filter as well. Plus, it's time to change the front brake rotors and brake pads as well. And I ordered these from FCP Euro, the pads. These are genuine BMW. So in terms of how we want to approach this project, since there's a lot of things that are common on the front end, for spark plugs, obviously we have to remove the engine covers, and then for filters we need to remove this housing. So there's and for shocks, obviously you have to remove all of this as well. So there's a lot of similarities here. So I'll break it down into the front end work, which obviously would include the brake and the front struts and the spark plugs and all the filters and oil change. And then at the back, the only thing that I need to do is just replace the shock absorbers back there. So I think I'm going to start from the back, and then we go from there. So replacing the rear shocks is pretty straightforward, unless, if you have the third row seat, which in my case I do, which involves a little bit of more trim removal. I mean, it's not difficult. You just need to open some screws from here and then pry out the trim. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Once you remove all the trim, the shocks are visible, and then we'll go ahead and replace those. Okay, so getting access to the shock wasn't that difficult. We're going to use this 16mm socket to open the 3 nuts, and then there's one from the bottom, and then the shock will come out. I have this 21mm nut that we need to open from the bottom part of the shock. So hopefully with this one out, this shock will come out pretty easy. So guys, I have the shock out. Just one quick tip. if you want to avoid struggling with opening the shock because it's going to keep spinning, you have to use a counter hold, a hex, and then hold the wrench like that, and then move them in the opposite direction. Okay, something like that. That way it's not going to move the shock. You can see the old bushings are pretty worn out, so we're gonna go ahead and replace these. Quick update, so the installation is complete for the rear shocks on both sides. It did take me a little bit longer than what I was anticipating, but if your car's like mine, 10 years old, you're dealing with corrosion and rusting, it's gonna take time to open these fasteners. So on to the next phase of the project. Now actually I have to open and remove all these plastic, because that's going to give me access to not only the strut mount, but eventually when I'm replacing the spark plugs, I would need to access that rear area. So it would be better if I just remove all that once, and since I also replaced the cabin filters underneath here, so it just makes sense to just get rid of all of that plastic, open up everything, and then kind of work on the front end. So I'll keep you posted. So I went ahead and replaced the cabin air filters. The spark plugs, everything is torqued back. I just need to put the engine cover back on. And while we're at it, we're going to replace the engine air filter as well.